like hello, the opening bit, I was like, I'll change that. I was doing an impression of Kurt Cobain.
I think we were just trying to excite ourselves as a band anyway. Just trying to do something new.
You've achieved what you set out to do, which is longevity. How do you think you have done that?
So we went in there with Rick, and then word must have got round that Blossoms are in Blossom with Rick Astley.
Hello and welcome to the Eras podcast, where we get to know the music and moments that have made your favourite artists who they are today. I'm your host, Abbie McCarthy, and in this episode I sit down with indie giants Blossoms. The platinum-selling band join us on the cusp of releasing their 5th studio album and playing their biggest live shows to date. Loads to celebrate and get into, so let's go. Welcome to the Eras podcast, 2/5 of Blossoms. Hello Tom, hello Joe, how are you?
Very well,
Very
thanks.
well, yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Good.
How was the journey down from Costa del Stockport? Was it good?
The first train was cancelled,
Ah.
but we set off with time to prepare for that. So we were still bang on time.
Yeah, punctual rock stars. You don't get that very often. I rate that.
We met via good attendance, so
We actually did.
you know what I mean, we've kept this has been the forefront of our career.
I think there was a
so
dip.
far.
There was a dip like year 10, 11.
Oh, okay.
Year 8 we met. We went on a school trip to Alton Towers. 400% attendance.
And what kind of like train passengers are you? Do you like talk all the way? Do you doom scroll? Are you snacking?
I was
You're
doing a bit of
productive.
editing.
Yeah.
I use
Oh, were
it to
you?
like get stuff done. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
I'm a chatter.
So you're
I'm
just
the
chatting
guy-
to other people.
I'm the guy you don't want to sit next to on the train,
Yeah.
I think. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, you all right, friend? Sophia always says that. Otherwise, she's like, oh, I wouldn't want to sit next to you on a train.
That's like me. I like want to chat all the way, and they're like,
Yeah.
"It's a 5-hour train journey." I'm
Stop
like, yeah,
being
there's
so-
loads to chat about.
Yeah. It
It's
depends,
nice,
though.
isn't it?
I went through like a proper deep dive today with Kate Bush. Do you know
What
I
did you
mean?
learn?
Do you know, because we're like looking at our live sets now. So we've been watching live gigs. And I thought, you know what, I love Kate Bush, but I haven't really watched loads of live stuff because it's harder to find. I've seen the one in 2014 loads, but then I found another one today from like,
from the 80s.
yeah, well, it might have been 79. And yeah, it was amazing. I was watching all that and I was like, just trying to get ideas and things like that, you know what I mean, for the live show. So yeah, it wasn't really more like, it wasn't like a Wikipedia hole, it was more just like a live.
Just being wowed by Kate Bush. Yeah.
How good is Kate Bush?
Yeah, she's pretty good, isn't she? I
Yeah.
think she's going to do well. I think she's going to be big.
She might do something.
I love, though, that you guys have always repped where you're from. You've always been like,
Yeah.
Stockport, put your kind of flag in the sand. What does Stockport mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, it's home, innit?
Yeah.
Still home. So that's kind of it's the centre of it all, innit, I suppose?
Yeah.
Because we all still live there. We all still live near each other.
Mm-hmm.
We've got like a big rehearsal room now, which we can store all the gear in. We do all the, come up with all our ideas there in terms of like videos, and we do the podcast there. It's like a base. So I don't know. And we were all still like tight with our families.
But even in
know.
terms of like the whole Blossoms fam, like as in our tour managers there, our production managers from Stockport, our manager, both our
Yeah,
managers
yeah.
are from. So I mean, like literally, it's like everything is very like Stockport based.
I think in them
Yeah.
early years, it would have been easy to maybe be drawn to the
the
bright lights,
big
the
city.
big city.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many bands say, oh, we're from Manchester, we're from London, because they don't feel like necessarily kind of affiliated to their
Yeah.
scene. But you guys were like, no.
I think
Stockport's
everything,
where it's at.
yeah, everything just kept us there, like Joe said. Not that we would have wanted to leave it anyway, but I think, like you said, all them other things kind of just made it easier to work from Stockport. And London's a 2-hour train journey, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it was never, if we ever needed to be down here for like press and stuff, we just hop on the train.
But I guess growing up, not too far from somewhere where like Oasis was blowing
Yeah,
up, Cortinas, all these great bands reaching such a level, even like you would have been aware of Stone Roses and whatever. Well, seeing those bands, did it make you go, you know what, if they can do it, we can probably have a go as well?
100%. We said this recently. I think Cortinas have got a massive part because like Oasis and Stone Roses. I mean, that's why me and you became like really close friends. Was that all that sort of Manchester music and
Yeah.
mainly Oasis.
Our first gig was Oasis at Eaton
Yeah.
Park together.
And that was like-
when we were
Class.
16.
I've
so-
never seen them, and it just
Have you not?
upsets me
Oh,
to my
honestly,
core.
it's just unreal. We went to watch Liam the other day actually.
Oh,
we
yeah.
Me and Tom went and we were just like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about Cortinas being because then obviously you listen to like Oasis and then you start listening to bands like that. Don't you? It's how you
Well, Oasis were like mega stars already by
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
we kind of got into it. Like we'd watched the videos back, and by the time we went to watch them, well, was old enough to go and watch them. It was like Eaton Park to like 75,000 people.
Mad.
So they were already like the biggest.
It's
band
like
in the world.
it's like it didn't feel achieved. Do you know what I mean? It didn't feel like oh they're from where I'm from. I can do that because they were like so big. Whereas like
Cortinas were like a local band who blew up when
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
like 15. So that kind of felt like you know, you're sending the tunes on your phone, like Sony Ericsson Walkman or whatever it was. It was like, you got on this band, and we'd be like seeing them on Soccer AM and stuff like that. So that felt like, oh, right, they're not from that far away. And even then, I personally never felt like it was achievable, really.
That's very
Do you know
Really?
what I mean?
Tom still doesn't now.
You've done it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
done that.
I know,
honestly.
but I was never like, oh, I'm going to be in a band and we're going to take out, you know, we're going to do this. Like, I was just into music.
Let's get into the first era of Blossoms, those early days. And one thing I've always loved about your band is you hear a song and you're like, that is Blossoms. You've got that really like distinctive, quite an earworm sound.
Yeah.
How long did that take to cook up? Like, do you remember those early days rehearsing and writing?
Yeah, I think it was there. The whatever the word.
I think
the seeds were there, like initially. I think within the early songs, we were basically we used what we had. So the writing process was always the same. Like I'd write the songs at home on a keyboard and a guitar, and I think a lot of the riffs came from the keyboards, which then. So if you get to like Honey Sweet and Charlemagne and stuff like that, they're all like quite busy riffs, but on like a better synth. Whereas in the early days, we just had a Hammond organ, which was what was in the rehearsal room we were in. So when Miles joined the bands, the riffs I'd write, he just played them on an organ. So we were big into the Doors and stuff like that. So it
you
sounded...
could definitely hear that in those early releases.
It sounded more like that, but I think that was kind of, without us realising, it's just the default of the instruments we were using, if you know what I mean. If we'd have swapped them out, which we ended up doing a bit on the first album, there's a couple of songs that, like Cut Me Now Bleed.
Yeah.
The earlier version of that is like very Doorsy, whereas on the album it got reined in and became a bit more synthy, which is just us evolving. But yeah, I think the riffs, the hook thing was important to me. I was always obsessed with like just try and get as many hooks in there as possible.
I feel like you did that before Blossoms as well, really, with your songwriting. Do you know what I mean? I can remember listening to songs you've done. They always had like something, always had like a hook or an
Yeah,
earworm. Do you
the
know what I mean?
chorus was always important, the melody. Melody's
key.
yeah. Don't go home, I'm in the lights, dude.
You don't.
And just to praise you for a moment, obviously we don't want your ego getting too
I know,
big.
yeah, let's chill out.
But you are such a good songwriter. Like when you first met each other and then started the band, were you like, this is great. These songs have got something really special about them.
Even like the songs before Blossoms and that, I was like, so when Tom was like, oh, I've got some other songs, but I don't think they're quite right for this band, I was like, let's have a band, yeah, let's do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'll be in a band with you, mate. Yeah, 100%.
You're class. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I think it's always been obvious, really. I think you've known as well you were good.
Yes, but
You're not that humble, are you? Are you like?
No, he's a bit good.
You can't. You know what I mean? You knew it was different. I think that's the thing we always say though. Is like, because obviously you can have the songs and stuff, but sometimes because we are a band, it feels different. Do you know what I mean? Like Tom's last band, the songs were good, but there was something about the band that wasn't quite right. Do you know what I mean?
It was like everything happened at the right time with this band.
Yeah.
It was kind of like my first band. I was just learning how to do it, if you know what I mean. But the hints were there that you could be good at this sort of thing, but we weren't on the same page like the rest of the lads in the band. It was kind of just like you're so young and everyone's pulling in different directions. Whereas with Blossoms, like kind of as we started it, I'd basically had my first relationship, so I had real things to draw from.
You had material.
Yeah, like before that, I was kind of just singing about my friends, which I've still done over the years, but I was like singing about people around me or just ripping off Oasis, basically. That was kind of what I was doing, and I didn't really have anything to sing about. So once you had the marriage of like, you've learned all these like chord progressions and the way to write songs, I think melody was always there. And then now you're pairing that with, oh right, I've got real subject matters to kind of personal stuff to draw from. That kind of coincided as we started Blossoms. And then I went through a breakup, and then it was just like, bang, right, let's start
when the best
band.
stuff happens, the best tunes.
It actually did.
We knew as well, didn't we? Weirdly. Like, I remember watching interviews with like Oasis and stuff like that, and seeing him say like, oh, we're going to be the best band in the world, or we are the best band in the world, or we're definitely going to make it. Do you know what I mean? Like early interviews, like I remember thinking it was like arrogant. Do you know what I mean? Like I used to buzz off it and he used to be like, that's amazing. But then when we first ever like rehearsed, I was like, I think I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I was just so confident. Yeah, I don't know.
I think because we've been in other bands, it felt immediately different. When we started off with 4 of us. Miles wasn't in the band at first, so we did like 6 months off and on without Miles. So us 4, when we first played the tunes together, it was just like a lightning bolt went off in my head of like hearing these play my songs. I was like, and Josh and Charlie's bits,
Cheers, mate.
No, but we'd already done
joking,
bits, you know, like the musical bits were kind of like the whole, and obviously the drums.
When it feels natural is when you kind
Yeah.
of know you've unlocked
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
that
couldn't wait
formula,
to do
don't
it
you?
again, and it just felt like nothing I've ever felt before, and it was like, oh my god, this is mad. And then we just kept. Then when Miles joined, that was like the cherry on top, because I'd been writing on the keyboards but couldn't like do it all at once. So then I'd sit with Miles and show him all the songs and be like, right, this is how it goes and stuff. And then when we'd come in all together, it'd be like, right. And then we just never stopped from there, and then just kept evolving, which I'm sure we'll probably start going through.
Yeah. It's because you went on such a run release-wise as well at the start, wasn't it? It felt like things were really connecting. You were making loads of noise around the country. It wasn't just a, hometown thing anymore. Cut Me and I'll Bleed, then it was Blown Rose, Charlemagne. It was just like, okay, this band, they mean business.
Yeah.
Did it feel like a whirlwind at the time?
Yeah, you're in. It's always that thing, isn't it? When you're in the eye of
storm.
it, you don't really realise. You're kind of just looking to the next one. Blown Rose kind of changed it, I think, a little bit. That felt like a breakthrough song.
Well,
Like
that was labels then, wasn't it?
yeah,
We started building up some sort of fan base, and
people came to watch us.
Yeah, it started
Like
getting
labels, I mean, but
Yeah.
no one wanted to
No
sign
one-
us. I don't think we were ready, to be fair. It's when we were more like that kind of doorsy, psyche thing, like, and we all had the black roll necks on, and it was kind of, that was the look, wasn't it? And
It was. Do you know what's funny about that? It's like we did that to stand out in Manchester, but then it seemed like everywhere, like we went, like when we came to London and stuff like that, all the labels were like, "Oh, I've seen this loads." Do you know what I mean? So it must have been a big thing here. But when we did that like night and day, do you know what I mean? Everyone was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
who are
it was
these
different.
guys?
I think
Yeah.
because everyone was just doing like that Britpop thing. Do you know what I mean? With like a
Yeah.
paisley shirt on. And I mean, paisley shirt and a turtleneck's not like a million miles away, are they? But do you know what I mean? At the time, all of us in the same.
and we wanted to unify ourselves.
Yeah,
so we
I think
just,
it's
like,
more-
went like just dead plain, just all wear the same
It was
stuff.
just more the thing of being unified, wasn't it? With something a bit
Yeah.
different, and that.
Then I wrote Blown Rose, and then that was kind of like, this feels like a song that could have existed at any point of the last like.
Like a classic.
Yeah,
film,
I don't want to say
And
that,
also, like, I was saying about that Blossom sound earlier, that was the one I think that unlocked it all.
I think so. And then Virgin kind of got involved on that as like, okay, we'll test the water with that one. And we were like dead excited because they like released it and it said Virgin on it. And we were like, fucking hell. Like,
Yeah, of course.
I was looking at cars to buy, honestly.
Yeah, you were like, this is it.
I was like, I made it.
But it wasn't
Car
like a record.
swimming
deal.
pool.
Miles thought that a record deal was just £1 million. So you just got. Like,
But you don't know how this stuff works,
Yeah,
though,
no,
do
that's
you,
what I mean.
until it
Yeah, it was
happens
so
to you,
like,
right?
like none of us knew anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, but only Miles was just like, I thought like a record deal was just like $1 million. That was just like the
Yeah,
standard.
straight in your
flat
pocket.
Fee. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, here's £1 million.
And it's
well done.
not?
No, it's nothing like that. Yeah.
So then
Shame.
they got involved on
Unfortunately.
that song as like a test of water, and they got it on the radio a bit, and we were like, God, this is like getting a bit of buzz. And then they were kind of like, I think they were waiting, okay, like, what's your next one? And the next one was Charlemagne. So
Yeah.
then once they heard Charlemagne, they went, okay, but then they offered us a record deal, and then it just didn't stop then. I mean, then it just went like quite fast after that.
Yeah.
And it was like, at most a kiss, Sunny Sweet, Getaway, and then the whole album was done then, and it was like, okay, we felt like in a good position.
I
at
feel
that
like
point.
going in the studio as well at that time, especially with Charlemagne and James Skelly.
Your main man.
Yeah, I think just him sort of introducing us to synths that, one, we just didn't have the money for, and two, didn't really know anything about. Him introducing that probably unlocked something in your
Yeah,
head.
and
Where
he
it was
was-
like,
he was-
you were writing for that.
He had the
then.
experience and the
Yeah.
the perspective to be like, okay, you're influenced by like the Doors and stuff, but you're also influenced by all this like Luther Vandross and all this other stuff that I know you're into. Because I think when he found us, he thought we were just into like 13th floor elevators and like really love and stuff in the 60s, which wasn't really the case. Like we liked the Doors, but really we were like Oasis heads and like
Yeah.
more like kind of like popular music really of that genre. So I think he was like, why don't you like substitute the Hammond organ for like these synths that I've got? And then it immediately just sounded more like modern and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So we were
Yeah.
never going to walk onto like the radio with like this like actually sounding like you're from the 60s. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So we-
Rather than it being influenced by you,
Yeah.
always just
Exactly,
sounding like
yeah.
you were from that decade.
and then
Yeah.
it became its own sound then off
Yeah.
the back of that. So he is a big part of that.
But then when things clicked and you went on this run,
Yeah.
Charlemagne, I mean, what a song. It's in indie gold tier for me. Like, it still does the business at festivals. The amount of times I've DJ'd and you just drop it and you see everyone singing along. But, like, taking us
mad.
back to the moment that you made that, did you kind of know?
I wouldn't say so,
No.
personally.
Really?
No, like you actually don't. Like I knew it was good,
Yeah, you obviously loved it.
but it was kind of like I remember writing another song like just after it called "Across the Moor," which became a B-side, and they came like together, and like I was just as excited, about that other one. Do you know what I mean? So I wasn't. You can't always see it. It felt one of them. We like rehearsed it and it came together really quick, and we'd play it. You know, it's good when you like, oh, okay, let's play it again.
Yeah.
And you play it like 8 times. Like it was one of them.
Yeah.
But like Blown Rose was one of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of. I don't know. You didn't really know. But then like we sent it to like our manager, and he was like, "This is the best tune you've done yet." Like so, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it?
Well, I think songs like that weirdly become that thing where it's like, have you ever heard of Blossoms? And if someone says no, and you just sing Charlemagne, they go, oh yeah, I know that song.
know that
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
It sort of does become like bigger than you because it gets in the ether of just like big songs. Do you know what I mean?
And a platinum selling record as well.
it's mad
Who's
that,
got
innit?
the disc? Do you all get one?
Joe, we haven't got it yet.
Have we not got that one?
No, we haven't got the platinum disc. No, I know. I don't know why we've not. We always say yeah, we'll get it, and then we just sort of.
But we all
These
get them
sounds-
normally.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
that's
sounds
nice.
bad.
Where are you
going
gonna put it?
Usually
Well,
wait
you
till
have to
there's a
pay
few.
for them. You have to.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do. That's
Can
why
you
we
believe
haven't.
that?
Oh, I think that's well cheeky.
I
You're like,
know.
I made this banger.
So you
At least
don't get
give me a
£1 million
disc.
record deals, and you have to pay for your own gold discs.
Music, eh?
It's not as rock and roll.
It's not all
as
it's
they
cracked
say.
up to
Yeah,
be.
It's really not.
Honestly. Where are you going to put it though? Have you got like somewhere in mind?
I've got a wall with like a few on.
Yeah.
I don't want to be big-headed, but I'm going to be a bit big-headed.
Yeah.
There's a few on there. It's
So,
nice.
that's the ultimate
There's a
flex,
little
really,
space
isn't it?
there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's usually the downstairs toilet. That's what everyone says, don't they?
Yeah, I ain't got any in the downstairs though. I've got mine in where I write tunes. I'm like, I shouldn't really have them in there. It's just pressure, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Looking up at that, going
Yeah,
right.
like, fuck's sakes,
That line's not going to cut it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
Oh.
but having a platinum is like, it's big, innit, that? Especially for a
huge.
band. Like, you don't,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's not something you really, like, it is something I'm like proper proud of.
It's a mad tune as well. Like when you, if you like strip it down as like a songwriter, you're like, what were you thinking? Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like that deep
Yeah.
or anything. It's just like, I don't know.
It's just like a feeling, maybe, isn't it? I
Yeah.
guess some songs are like that.
Yeah, 100%. And now you spend ages like going over the lyrics and stuff, and you think I've got to get that bit right. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't give a fuck when I did Charlemagne. I
Yeah.
just like wrote.
Just like spewed it out, and it was
Oh,
great.
that'll do. Like hello, hello, the opening bit. I was like, I'll change that. I was doing an impression of Kurt Cobain. That's what I was doing.
No.
So I just got the melody and went,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's a bit like Kurt Cobain. That was like my thinking.
And that's like the iconic line now,
Yeah.
isn't it? As soon as
and he
as soon
says
as it's
that
on.
in which hello, hello. So I kind of just like subconsciously that's what I was channeling, and I was like, I'll change that.
Yeah.
But then part of it's probably why it's good as well because it's so direct, innit? You know what I mean? But I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to address you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. You can overanalyze it, can't you?
Yeah.
And make it something that it isn't.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that overthought at the time.
And then your self-titled debut album was just a massive success, wasn't it? #1, released on a major label, obviously, which is,
Yeah.
you know, huge
Yeah.
at the time as well.
100%.
Is that when you kind of realised that music was really going to be a thing for you? Or when was that moment, if it wasn't then?
I think it wasn't them for me because, I don't know, I think maybe because we stayed up north. Do you know what I mean? So I know it sounds mad, but then you still sort of had that little thing of like, this is amazing. You sort of get a taste of little things and you really want it to be. But because of that, you know that, do you know what I mean? It's quite fickle, really. It's quite fickle. Like, how many great first albums have you heard? And then, do you know what I mean? Nothing after that. And I think we had people around us like James, everyone like that. And at the time, you might have seen it as quite negative, being like, just thinking like, you like keep it. Everyone always used to say, to be fair, when we like Paul Weller, people like these massive names you would support, and they'd always say the same things, like keep writing, just keep writing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that ingrained into all of us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Being like, everyone keeps saying the same thing, and they say the same thing for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, because
It's probably really good. And it's actually
Yeah.
maybe why you've stayed so grounded. You didn't get cocky like #1 album with this and
No.
that. You were like, no, I've got to keep writing. I've got to
No,
do
we were
what the
brought-
greats have told me to do.
We were brought down to earth because we had 2 weeks at #1, right? But the second week was the lowest selling #1 of its time at that point.
Oh, right, okay.
But just by default,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
normally an album would sell loads the first week, and then obviously it starts to drift off, doesn't it? So normally you'd fall to maybe like 7th place or
Yeah,
something like that.
fine.
But because no one else released anything, we got to like #1 with like 8,000 sales.
No way.
So it was
yeah, the
like
second week.
it was like bittersweet. So we had like
Yeah.
2 weeks at #1, but then it was like but it was the lowest ever selling one. So we
I
were
don't,
kind of
I don't think it still is anymore.
might be.
think
Might get
so.
that on the wall.
No.
That's where the songwriting one needs to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
It's like
Yeah, exactly.
week two.
I quite quickly was thinking about the next record because that's just the way I am. So I enjoyed it. I look back now and think I probably should have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, 100%.
If you know what I mean, because you're a bit older, you've got perspective and stuff. Like I did enjoy it, but we were that busy that first year. It was
Relentless.
insane. We
know-
were just like, I remember, like that week the album came out, we'd been in like Australia supporting Jake Bugg. We landed, did Kendall Calling, did an NME cover. You know, it was like that kind of thing. So you're not
Oh, it's-
really sitting going, this is amazing, and I'm going to be like dead, take it all in. You're just kind of moving on to the next thing.
I feel like we're still a bit like that now. We've never sat there and gone, oh yeah, do you know what I mean? We've done well. Like,
there's always another thing, isn't
Yeah,
there? Like, it's
100%.
always the gigs, isn't it, for us? Like, because we started off as a live band, that was like the main thing. It's always, and all the bands we've looked up to, it's always been more so the size of the gigs as opposed to like how many number ones has someone had, if you know what I mean. But,
so your mentality has almost always been what's next, or you know, what gigs next. You followed up with the second album pretty quickly as well, and I wondered, like, were you feeling the pressure because you'd killed it on the debut album? Because there's always that saying, isn't it? You've got your whole life to work on your debut album, and then it's that difficult second album phase. You've got to follow up, put your best foot forward again. How were you feeling at that time?
I felt exactly that, personally.
Yeah,
and it's my least favourite Blossoms album.
Really?
Yeah, and I think you can hear it on there. I'm like, but luckily, there was like 2 massive singles on there again with like I Can't Stand It and There's a Reason Why. So it kind of makes up for it because of that.
I think you're being negative there.
No, it's my own opinion. Like, I'm a bit more self-critical on it because you have a high standard, don't you? And I know how rushed I was because we were touring so much. Like, that first album, I'd wrote all in like back room at mum and dad's house. And you have all this time in the world and you can just immerse yourself in it. Whereas that was like trying to steal moments like on the road, which was like really difficult. Because
do you think you're trying to replicate some of the goodness on the first album as well, rather than making it its own thing a little bit?
Potentially, yeah. I can't really remember my headspace on that level.
Oh, I can.
No, but I mean, like, well, I don't think I was like sat. Yeah, I didn't self-consciously change anything. I just kind of rolled into the next bunch of songs, if you know what I mean.
Well, it was so fast anyway, and then we were so busy. Like, that was the year we did, like, I can't remember, something stupid, like 58 flights or something, and God knows how many gigs. Do you know what I mean? It was really relentless.
It's one of them.
We did like nearly 150 gigs, so I think maybe that.
We got it out pretty, like, we recorded it in like the summer of 2017. Right. So we'd like, the first album came out like the summer of 16. So it was like, there wasn't much time really. So I felt pressure. I remember being in like dressing rooms like Barcelona, in Europe, like sending myself under, like trying to find, because there was like instruments in there, like sitting at the piano being like, I've got to work and I've got to
make a song now. There's not much time,
Yeah, and reading loads of stuff, like trying to take in inspiration. Like it was, I remember stuff like struggling with it a little bit, to be fair. Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? It's not really fucking
changed, does it? Hey? So it's not really changed?
No, it's the same process every time, but I feel like I don't know. There just wasn't much time on that one. It feels rushed. Do you know what I mean? So.
But by the end of that second album campaign, a headline show in your hometown stadium as well.
Edgeley Park.
Yeah. The home of the mighty Stockport County FC, obviously. Like, that is the proper stuff of dreams. Like, some bands will never get to do that in their career. Yeah. You did that in yours within, 3 years of your debut album? Like, that is absolute scenes.
Mad.
That was one of them things that we said, right, we want to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that, just one of them things that we want to tick off. And when we did that, it still was like, do you know what I mean? I know it's big and stuff, but we still like, what's the next thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're still looking now at like something else. And it's weird because obviously now we're like older and.
That felt like the end of that era.
Yeah, it did.
Like the end of the first 2 albums had been building up to this huge gig.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what, maybe that was the time where, Joe, you said before, like when was the time you actually thought, oh, you're going to be like, have a job in music?
Yeah.
I think that was probably the time when I look back where I was like, yeah.
The scale of this thing is getting big.
I think because I remember going in, because we actually went to a spa. It's like in Cheshire that day because we were like, we can't just stay round Stockport. Do you know what I mean? Like we all still lived. Like I literally lived like a 5-minute walk from County's ground at the time. Do you know what I mean? I was like, it's just a bit too weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even just people texting you like random mates. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had one mate text from school. It was like, oh, you've got a gig at County, can I come and get tickets from you? I was like, I don't just have like 15,000 tickets in my house. Do you know what I mean? That I'm like selling from my back door. Do you know what I mean? I was like, it was just like one of them. And then another guy, he used to sit next to me in ICT, was like, you're doing well, aren't you, mate? How much you earning? Do you know what I mean?
They all crawl out the woodwork, don't they? Like, you know I mean? They love it.
So we just like took ourselves away that day and was like, let's go just to a spa. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like none of us will be in our phones. We'll all be sat there, feeling nice, relaxed. And I remember coming in, and because I'd been out all day, and then just driving through like Edgeley and that around Stockport and just seeing it rammed. Do you know what I mean? I've not seen it like before for years and years. Yeah. Like seeing like the high street, all the pubs, everyone, like, it's like dead nice day. Everyone was like sat on that roundabout, do you remember, with like crates and stuff. It was just like, yeah, exactly. And I remember thinking, oh God, like
This is for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's proper. This is like proper band stuff now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was probably where I felt it. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, no, I felt. It's weird trying to look back because I still feel. Because I feel like we got better after that, weirdly. You know, like live and stuff.
no, I agree
like,
with that though. Yeah,
And I got more comfortable as being like a proper front man.
yeah.
Right.
Like I feel like there was an element. There's like a weird middle ground. Like when you first start out, you don't give a fuck. You just like
Yeah.
this kind of anything's possible sort of thing. Then you get into it a bit, and then it freaks you out a little.
You get a little bit self-conscious.
Yeah, and I'm not really that. I wouldn't be like the loudest person in the room, or like I'm quite introverted. Do you know what I mean? So then you're thrown into this like thing where it's like people start knowing who you are, and like you've got to be. I don't know. It's just it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think I was still kind of finding what I wanted to be as a front man, if you know what I mean. Because it wasn't just because you feel like you got to put on these big shows. Like when you're in a dive bar playing to like 50 people and it's
Do
sweaty,
what you want. Yeah.
you're a bit more like it's a bit more. Not punk, because we never sounded punk, but there's like a
I
punk
love that.
attitude
Yeah.
in the way you are, and you're like 19, and you just don't care. Do you know what I mean? You've come out your first relationship, you're just like, I'm in this band, and like we're the best thing ever. Yeah. And then people start knowing you, then you go, oh fucking hell, no, I'm not. Like, you're like
Yeah.
yeah, like shit, and then you start watching videos about you, like, and then people have reviews, and then it's like,
Yeah, of
this
course.
guy he's blagging it or whatever. You know what I mean? One comment can like stay with you. So I remember reading a few things where I was a bit like became quite self-conscious, and then that summer weirdly was like pinnacle of me like not enjoying the gigs. Weird. I know this sounds dead negative now, but then
yeah.
I came out the other side of it being like, right, I'm sorting my shit out here. I'm gonna start.
So that was a good growth point. Although, like,
Yeah.
you must look back and feel a bit sick about it. It's
Like,
worth it, isn't it?
Yeah, like I loved County and stuff, but there was like a Leeds and Reading gig that summer where I was like, I just really didn't enjoy it.
It was like little things were really bothering you, like the wind was annoying you, and your hair was on your face, and you were
No,
like,
but I'd be
you
like
was
seeing
really
someone
self-conscious
yawning in
about
the
it, do you know
crowd.
what I
I'd be
mean?
like,
Yeah.
they just hate it. They think
Oh,
we're
don't.
shit and stuff like that. And
I
was
guess
like,
if you catch stuff like that, it must be so off-putting every now and again,
you
right?
kind of, and it's stupid, really. Do you know what I mean? You just got to like come out of that and be like, see it from a different perspective.
It's weird because you probably yawned at a gig.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're bored. You might just be tired.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird, but like it can have such a big effect.
But that was like building up to the next record, which I personally, up until this one we've just done, was like my favourite Blossoms record, Full of Southern Spaces. So it kind of, and then we had Your Girlfriend, so it all felt like a turning point in the band. Like that song, Your Girlfriend, it was like it unlocked something.
When you're up on stage, you're just like superstars. Do you know what I mean? It looks like you're at home there, but it shows you have to go through that slightly bumpy patch to enjoy it. In the Foolish Love and Spaces era, I felt like that came at the perfect time because you were playing big gigs at this point. You're pretty high up festival lineups. Probably your poppiest album. It felt like there was a lot of anthems in there that people could connect to. Was that a conscious effort?
No, it was like the most natural, which I think I've just thought about it now as you've been speaking and talking about the songs and stuff. It's like on that second record, I was listening to what a lot of people around me were like telling me. So like James Skelly, for example, he's been a big mentor, and because none of the other lads are songwriters, but he'd like send me songs and like we talk about songwriting and stuff, and he'd always like have pointers and stuff. And on that second one, when I was like, because I didn't have much time, he'd be sending me stuff, and then I'd be listening to that, and I'd end up writing songs based off some of the stuff he was sending me. And I just think I didn't find my own
Your inner voice
influence.
Almost. Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
It was just forced, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just like take what you can get at that time, if you know what I mean. Which I still get influence from the stuff James sends me. Like I don't want it to sound like it was like shit stuff he was
James's
sending,
fault.
because it's not. But I just didn't have time, I don't think, to like muddle through myself. You need basically free time to then let the influences come in, and like
there's
you
a
get
famous
obsessed
quote in
with
there, I
stuff.
can't remember what it is. It says basic creativity is just like having as much time to be
We
creative.
call it
do you know what I
idle
mean?
time, don't they? Where you've kind of just got, you need to just be daydreaming and just listening to the radio and go, why is that just pricked my ear up?
Yeah.
Whereas when you're on tour, being like, you're going here, you're going there, write this album, or you're going to #1, right? Yeah, but what about the next one? It was just like chaos, do you know what I mean? Whereas the bit of time off in between, weirdly, it was before all these gigs we've just been talking about, because the process starts earlier, doesn't it?
Yeah,
if you know what I mean? So it was like 2018-ish, like as that second album would come out, I'd already then started moving on to like writing again. But I'd kind of just got into it quicker because weirdly we probably wasn't as busy as that first year. So I probably just had that tiny little bit more time to myself. And I remember going to New York with Katie, and I seen this band play, and then they kind of left an they were called Ceramic Animal, and they kind of left a bit of an influence on me. Then
That's
got
so indie, that, you know.
I know it is,
It's class,
but then I
that.
got obsessed.
That name's
Just like
class.
went to India, went to New York and saw Ceramic Animals.
But then I got into Talking Heads, and like became obsessed with it. I know it's like an obvious thing, but did never come across been on my radar.
You've not done that deep dive, have you?
No, and then I kind of, that just unlocked something for me. I found the influence myself, and I kind of learned the way I wanted to channel it. Then I wrote Your Girlfriend, and the way I'd wrote that, which was kind of not from my own experience, I'd like seeked it out and pieced this story together from a blog I'd found online. It just felt different, if you know what I mean. So
that song as well, Moment for Your Girlfriend. That's my favourite Blossom song. I'm
it's
still
probably
obsessed.
my favourite Blossom song, to be fair. Weirdly now, because it just seems so us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I remember writing it and taking it to you, being like, it's a little bit like it felt weird. Like even the chorus was a bit like, just didn't feel like as obvious as, it wasn't just like my obvious move that I'd been doing on the other songs. I'd done something different.
Do you know what I think it is though? That I think loads of bands like either fall victim to it or nail it. Is that thing of like progression, but still having like your band in the veins of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Because sometimes people just go like a completely different direction, and sometimes it can be too far, and people sort of get freaked out about it and go, "Oh, I hate that." Do you know what I mean? Or like some people love it. Do you know what I mean? But other times, I feel like if you've got your veins in it still, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like people go, "Yeah, it's just another Blossom song," but it sounds a bit different. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's
it felt like a
recently.
rebirth for us because it was like we put that slide guitar on just because it was lying about the room, and I remember there was conversations with James Skelly and people being like, right, we'll change that for a synth.
I think what was it?
As in like,
will
go
Radio
for the
1
Blossom sound.
Will Radio 1 play a slide guitar? That was the sentence. Do you know what I mean? Like
that, and then we ended up going, no, let's just stick to our guns. We love it. It's a bit like kooky and a bit like.
And it's a slight evolution. It's not too far. It's got that Blossom's DNA still in the song.
It was us five. Like, so
it's weird, but like, I reckon if people, I don't know, people you say that they're probably like, well, it's just. You probably can't even see that. Do you know what I mean? Can't see that progression. But at the time, it felt like, well, you like when you were first heard it, you're probably like, oh, it is a bit different. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it wasn't like as synth heavy. It wasn't.
But it felt
as, like,
so excited. I love that song.
It felt fresh and like and then the rest of the album, and the thing was, I wrote a lot for that album, which you've got to. So there was probably at one point we were going to do 3 small albums because that was like a thing people were doing at the time. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was like
that was a phase, wasn't it?
I think Foles did 2 albums, and a few other bands, and we were like, should we turn this into like 3 small albums? And it was going to be Foolish, Love in Spaces as 3.
Oh, I see.
So we split the songs up, and we had like 40 tunes that we were playing around with, which we were going to whittle down to like 10 on each record. And then we just went, just pick the favourite 10 and just do one, which I'm glad we did.
Yeah, so you picked the proper juice then.
Yeah, so then it got to, I think that's how we got to such a kind of, every tune we were like satisfied with because we'd like meticulously gone through.
To be fair as well, you got the piano. That was a huge thing for the album.
Yeah.
You just having like a new, because I think that was probably the first time where you got like a new instrument.
It's weird. It's only time that you reflect when you do stuff like this. You start realising how things came together. But I'd like moved in with my now wife, Katie, and we'd like was living in a house together, but we'd like renovated loads of stuff in there. So I remember being like, I've got to get a room where I can write songs. Yeah. So we like focused on getting this back room sorted, and we did that room first. And I got a piano in there, like
amazing,
as a writing tool, like a proper upright piano. So it was like, and then I moved a few synths in there. So I moved what I'd had at my mum and dad's house to there, because up until that point, I'd been like living with Katie, but then just going home to write. I wouldn't have been writing at where she was living because the house was like upside down.
Yeah, I was gonna say the time as well where you like felt weird writing anywhere else but your mum and dad's back room.
Yeah, I thought I've got to write there because that's where everything.
Well, I suppose you get a bit nervous. You go, it's worked for me here. Can I go anywhere else?
Yeah,
you know.
So then, I started Your Girlfriend in that new house. So it was like, and then I did Real Life. If You Think This Is Real Life, and then I wrote The Keeper was like the last one for the album on the piano. So that kind of felt like, I don't know, all the natural influences kind of came off our own decisions, and maybe subconsciously that makes you believe in it more or something like that. Do you know what I mean? After that, that's when Ribbon Around the Bomb came off that kind of that was like written in lockdown and kind of again just go and do something different now.
And that was like the next evolution really of Blossoms, wasn't it? I feel like your writing kind of leveled up a little bit on that because it was just sort of through a different lens, wasn't it? It was more like thematic. How do you like keep pushing yourself as a songwriter?
Well, I think again James Skelly was kind of key to that because we were talking a lot in lockdown. Arctic Monkeys had done that like Tranquility Base album.
Yeah.
James had worked with a guy who'd worked on that album called Edwin Burdis, who was like a creative director. So he'd done a lot of the visual stuff for their album and done stuff with the choral. And James was like, oh, you should like see what this guy does. He's kind of, he was like, I remember him saying something like, you've been accepted a bit more by the press. the reviews got a bit better on like Foolish Living Spaces. So he was like, do you kind of songwrite thing on this one? And obviously I was just writing, and you kind of take the influence from the people you're around you. So that's how that kind of happened. Me and James were kind of talking. And to be fair, I'd gone to Mexico. Well, we'd gone to Mexico as the band, hadn't we?
Yeah.
Just before lockdown, back end of 2019. And I'd been to a Frida Kahlo museum in her house. And that's where I got the ribbon around the bomb thing from.
Oh, right.
Someone described her art as that. So I'm always doing that when I'm out and about. I'm always like taking things that I can use in songs. So that's how I got.
I wondered that. Do you ever sometimes find the song title and then write the song after?
All the time.
Yeah.
Like I'd say that's like 80% of the way I do it.
Really?
Yeah, Tom's got a list on like notes.
Get out the notes. No, don't really. People will nick it. That's great though.
So that's how that was the start of that Ribbon Around the Bomb thing. So I kind of weirdly knew I was going to call the album Ribbon Around the Bomb before we'd even wrote any other songs. Yeah. Because I was like, it's quite a striking title. Yeah.
What I liked about that album though is it felt like there was a bit more emotional depth to it. Obviously there's some songs about feeling really quite down and stuck in a rut and stuff, and it felt like I think maybe some people would have connected with the band in a different way.
100%. And it is a great record, that. It is good.
Weirdly, when I look back on it now, like at the time, it felt like, not negative, because the album's not negative, but like I say, the things that happened around the same time felt negative. But I feel like it's dead important to have them moments. Like you were saying, like that was like an album where it's like, oh, like I don't know, one you put on at home when you're lying down, just doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? It felt more of like a...
And we had like real strings on there, so there was like themes on there.
Like it's my favourite album before the next one.
And everyone's favourite album is about to drop. It's on the horizon.
I think that's where that attitude comes from with calling it Gary.
Yeah.
Coming off the back of like Ribbon Around the Bomb and everyone being like, will this get played there? Will that do that? Like, there was a bit...
Let's have some fun.
Just be like, I'm fucking calling the album Gary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We toyed with a few other album
Was
titles.
it always Gary, though? In your heart of hearts?
Yeah. But do you know what, weirdly, I think this was I remember sitting there and then Tom was really worrying at the time. Like, I think we always go through that process a little bit where it's like, which you're always you're going to feel pressure.
Yeah, it was amplified because I opened a bar with my wife, basically. But it became an episode of Grand Designs. Which isn't ideal when you're a songwriter.
No, it's not,
is
it?
So
That's
I'm
not
plasterboarding walls and then going, oh, am I going to write? It's just can't do it, can you? So I was struggling with that.
Yeah. And I think
time-wise.
even the overthinking thing, like, don't remember the conversation, like what theme's it going to be, what's going to be the thing of the album and things like that. And then we were going in and demoing and we just had these, like, we had this sheet up on the wall of maybe like 40 to 50 tunes. I don't know, we were like starring which ones our favourites were. And, going through it all and then trying to piece them all together. And then like, why do they need to piece together? Do you know what I mean? Like, does anyone actually listen to it and go, oh, I can see why they've put this on here with this? Apart from people who might be reviewing it or in depth, like, I was like, I just think I put an album and go, I love that. That's good.
Really good.
That's good. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I never go, oh God, I can really see why this is pieced together in such a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's great to have that in interviews and things like that. But the other thing is we were like, let's call it Gary and let's just fucking put it out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I think weirdly we had the most similar process to Foolish Lovely Spaces in terms of the time and the songs. We wrote a lot of songs and then we could really whittle it down, which I think helped, you know what I mean? So we
How many did you write? Because I don't know if you saw this
one.
thing about Dua Lipa. For her latest album, she wrote 97 songs and then like skimmed it down. I was like, that's so many though, surely.
Probably, yeah. But there's a lot of shit in there as well.
Yes,
Right, okay. Some are sort of like half-formed demos, so you just think, no way.
Yeah, should we do that? But I reckon there's probably like close to that.
Yeah, you probably did that and then we probably got about 50.
Yeah, I probably showed the lads like 50 and then there's some that I didn't
poo-pooed
even...
a couple.
I mean, I don't. I'm terrible at that, honestly. I'm like, I love
you
this
see
one.
him through. You
I
see
love
him
this
through.
one.
Class.
Yeah,
You see him
Tom's
through,
better
do you know
at
what I mean?
that
I
than me.
think you've got to see him through to at least a level where you can put it on and then you go, is it exciting me? No, move it. Just leave it.
In the best possible way, I feel like this album's just kind of you guys showing off. It's just like the best of blossoms. Like, it's really great. And again, you work with James Skelly, who obviously we've mentioned throughout this conversation, but he's your boy, isn't he, really? You know, collaborator right from the start.
Yeah.
What is it about him that's special? What does he kind of unlock in you?
I think there's a trust there and he can speak to us like...
Oh, he'll say some stuff that's like you're like, oh, okay.
As in quite cutting.
Yeah, just like that's rubbish.
Oof, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and you're a bit
you've got that bond now, so it's fine.
Yeah. You know his heart. He's like he's looking out for the band, and
Yeah.
he's been there. He's got experience, and he backs us because he's been there from the start. Do you know what I mean? You can't really buy that.
You've also embraced collaborating with other artists on this album, and two top ones we're talking about here, Josh from Jungle and CMAT. I mean, these two, I can imagine they're really creative, inspiring people to be around. So those writing sessions with them, what were they like?
Well, with Josh, it was more production. We didn't actually like write with him, did we?
No.
But that was kind of just to go in with someone else because we'd never actually done it. So
If anything, it was, looking back, it was rushed, really.
yeah, we should have gone in a bit later, I reckon.
But then again, then you're thinking that they would have released that and we probably wouldn't have had the time, so would have missed the boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
everything happens for a reason. Like, we went
Yeah.
in and like tried to do like 5 tunes in a week, but really we should have just done the 2 we focused on, like the 2 that have made the record now.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like there was probably like 3 duds, which were just a bit. In hindsight, like I hadn't wrote enough, if you know what I mean. But we were so eager to get in with someone new.
Yes.
He had that free time. We just did it.
I think we were just trying to excite ourselves as a band anyway. Just
Yeah.
trying to do something new. Do you know what I mean? Like, and going away was like, I don't know. It felt
We booked an
felt
Airbnb
exciting.
in Wales,
Yeah.
just us 5, and it was like we'll go away and just lock ourselves away and write, which we'd never done before.
And we got it decked out, didn't we? Like our tech John went
Yeah,
down.
we took all like the equipment and we set it up like a bit of a studio vibe.
Yeah.
And
Great.
all rooms for us to be there.
It was amazing. Like, I had views of like the sea.
Yeah, it was-
in
it
Anglia.
was
Do you know what I mean?
really,
It was
really nice.
cool. It was like it was a proper good experience.
But that week we were going there, basically when we were touring the year before, I heard CMAT playing in a record shop in Brighton and was like, who is this? Like, first 4 tunes on this record were like all amazing. I had to go and ask, like, who's this playing now? And they're like, oh, it's CMAT, our album's out, it's just come out or whatever. She's playing in Brighton tonight. So we were on tour, we had a day off in Brighton.
Amazing.
So we went and watched her and obviously it blew our heads. And
Oh,
then-
she's unreal performer, isn't
yeah.
she?
And this was
Someone
in this
else.
like little 300 cap venue and I was thinking, this is the
Miles
best thing.
cried.
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
I was like, this is the best thing
Yeah.
and the best songwriter I've heard in years. Like, I was that blown away. It takes quite a lot to like make me feel like that. So we had a few drinks with her afterwards in the pub. Kind of stayed in touch over the year. She came to watch us at Glastonbury do that thing with Rick Astley
Yeah.
because she's a big Smiths fan.
Love
So
it.
she texted me like, I'm at Glastonbury. Can you get me side stage to watch you do this thing? Because it was like becoming this big hyped thing at Glastonbury. So we got her in there, saw her there and had a bit of a laugh again. And then the month after Glastonbury was like, we were into this writing idea in Wales. So we'd been speaking to her, like, are you up for writing with us? And she was like, yeah, dead right. She was going to come to Stockport the week before we went to Wales.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't do that date. But then we were like, but we're going. She was like, I'm free the week after. And we were like, well, we're going to Wales doing this thing. And she was like, I'll just fucking come to Wales with you.
Get stuck in.
Yeah,
Let's
and
go.
fair play because like
Yeah.
she didn't know us that well.
Yeah.
It's like 5 random guys like in this Airbnb like writing songs. It was like we didn't know how it was gonna go, and it was like one of the best, most creative experiences. Like it just felt good to kind of rekindle our spark as a band, and then having
Yeah.
Kira there as this, just like it was like a force of nature as a songwriter, and she was like just doing different things, which was like I don't know. I learned a lot from working with her. So
What's the biggest thing you think you learnt from her?
I'd done bits and bobs like that over the years, but she would be like, before we'd start writing, it'd be like, she wants like a laser focused pin of what the song's about. Where sometimes I would just muddle my way through and then find the thing, which is
Yeah.
obviously you don't have to do anyway. Like Charlemagne was born that way, and that's our biggest tune. But like I'd done it on Your Girlfriend, where like I had the subject matter and like I had like the parameters of what I was writing about. Where she kind of always does that.
Right.
And she probably doesn't, but that was her way of wanting to do
focus.
it. And it was like, right, this is what it's about, and it kind of helps you hone in on the lyrics a bit more.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what I took from it, and she was just kind of spontaneous, and it was just great.
And even CMAT, like even like you look, we've literally got video footage of like when the title was there, and we picked the title. Like Kira gave out us all books and like magazines, and we're all just reading random lines out to try and get.
Basically,
like
we'd been trying to write something else,
yeah,
and it wasn't really going anywhere. Like we were just like noodling about with like some riffs, and she was like, right, everyone in the kitchen, let's just have a drink. She handed everyone a book. She had loads of books with her. So she'd be like, this is about that, that's about that. Everyone had a book. She went, just start shouting stuff out. We're going to get a song title. So everyone was like,
yeah.
The Children on the Train, it's shite. Then it'd be like, this, that. And it went round and round, and we're all like thinking
Oh, there must
stuff.
have been some right duds in the mix.
Yeah,
but
of
that's
course.
part of the process.
So then Joe found I Like Your Look.
There you go.
So then I was
There you
like,
go.
oh,
Earning the money.
it could be like, I was like, it should be like, and immediately just lit off something in me. I was like, it should be like pop music, but they're called music, aren't they?
Yeah, music.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like about fashion. That's what I was like. It should be like playful about the stuff we wear.
Yeah.
And then it just then went from there then. And it
Love
was
that.
like really fast. And in one night we did like the whole thing. So that was like It
was
just
weird
felt
'cause it-
electric.
Yeah, because we had the idea. Tom said all that, and then we literally disappeared into the room and like worked on like this riff and this groove, and then them two stayed. Do you know what I mean? Like them two like going through the lyrics while we're doing.
We had like
things.
Vogue, we had like fashion magazines, and like we were pulling stuff out, and like, loads of the stuff came from like the bits in there. Like these just like mad lines that we were just taking from.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the standout tracks on the album, or some of mine anyway.
I'm
Feel free to battle it out,
Yeah,
like
no, I love this.
Top Trump style. So I'm going Big Star,
Oh.
I Like Your Look, which we've already spoken about, and Mother.
Oh,
Discuss.
They're possibly my 3 favourites.
Look at that.
Big Star is my favourite. I absolutely love it. Mothers is obviously about me. I'm just amused these days.
That's the
Tom.
Well, you got to find
Felt
different things
cute.
to write about.
Do, yeah.
I'm always looking for things to write about, and I'm a big Wolf Alice fan. And
Who
they've
isn't?
got their tune Bros, haven't they? So I was kind of like, that's a nice sentiment. Like, and it sounds like what she's singing about, if you know what I mean. Like, it sounds like a song about mates.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of married up in my head. So I was kind of like, I wonder if I could get something like that into one of our tunes, because obviously there's loads to go from, because we've been mates for years and stuff. And the Mother's line was in a different song, one of the duds. I liked the line.
That bit.
Yeah, like it's that thing in it, you pull in stuff. And I wrote this song, a separate Mother's song, which I didn't really show anyone, because I was like, it's just not exciting me enough yet. But I had the line, our mothers said they were friends back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen old photos of them, they wore the same things, which again is that Kira thing of being like, it's so on the nose.
Yes.
But it's true.
You can picture it then immediately,
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
you? Which is so nice.
So I was kind of like, I really liked that line. And also I had to go to the club and dance to the Smiths and Rick Astley, which is of the time they were doing it. But then we started a covers band with Rick
Perfect.
Astley of the Smiths. So I was like, there's so many like layers to that.
Yeah, it really paints a picture, that
Yeah.
song. I love songs like that where you can almost like I can almost see you guys going out.
Yeah,
I can see your
100%.
mums almost what they were wearing, all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. Obviously the Rick Astley name
Yeah.
drop. The fact that he's just a living legend and now your pal.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Like,
We've got-
what's that been like? Just
Got a
get to know
WhatsApp
him.
group, me and us and Rich.
What's
great.
it called?
It's called the Wally Rangers.
Amazing.
He's
He's so nice.
he's so
Is
nice.
he?
Yeah.
He's just so
He's proper sound.
You don't want to give him up.
He just yeah,
Oh.
well done. Yeah. He just drops in. Like if he's
Well, he
going to
drives
Manchester,
everywhere.
Yeah.
He's terrified of flying.
Oh, really?
So he'll drive to like a gig in Copenhagen, like
Oh,
that
my
level.
God, that must take ages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
does.
loves
He does
it.
fly though. I think he prefers it now.
If he's going to like Glasgow for a gig,
Yeah.
he drives from London. So obviously he comes through. He comes to see us on the way.
Oh, does
so
he?
he'll be like, "I'm coming through, love." So he actually calls us love. So he'll be like, "I'm coming through if you're
Proper
about for a
old school
drink." So
Northern
then we
thing,
like
innit?
cancel all our plans and just go meet Rick.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, if it's Rick Astley, you've got to do the
Yeah.
thing, haven't you?
And we
Do you
just
know what I mean?
it's just mint. It's just dead nice.
He slept at
proper
my
cozy.
house.
Oh,
The Rick Astley suite.
The spare rooms, the Rick.
how
Astley
mad
suite.
is that as well? Like
is
thinking
mad.
of you listening to his music growing up, and I had a bloody sleepover with Rick
No.
Astley.
So it's funny, like when we're like together, like we'll go to like the shop round the corner from like where we rehearse and that, and like people in the shop like go, "Are you Rick Astley? Like, why are you here?" Do you know what I mean? Like it's like
They probably
it's the
don't
middle of
almost believe it's
Stockport.
him because you're just
Yeah,
like, what?
100%. Especially because it was before we were doing the Smiths thing and stuff like that with us. So I think they were like, "Why is Rick Astley in Stockport?"
We took him to the Blossoms pub for a drink, right?
Amazing.
And there's like a pub across the road called the Wheat Sheaf, which is like karaoke every night. It's quite like,
Is it Gary's karaoke?
I don't think so.
Oh,
But
maybe
you
it's
go
made
in
up.
there for like a raucous night. It's that
Right.
kind of vibe. The Blossoms is a bit more chilled. So we went in there with Rick, and then word must have got round that Blossoms are in Blossoms with Rick Astley. And then the Wheat Sheaf like owners came over saying, "Can you come and do karaoke in ours?" We didn't. We should have done it, but we didn't. But it was a bit like fucking hell. It's like Rick was a bit like fucking hell. What's going on here now?
Yeah.
But that was funny.
Love
Was.
that. Let's talk about Big Star. Is that based on a true story?
We had some gigs out in America the back end of last year. We did like this festival called Darker Waves. Anyway, we'd all stayed out there, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And Katie had come over to that one because it wasn't Coventry on a Tuesday. She came to
It
LA.
was LA. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, LA was like, I'm around. Bit of sunshine. Sure.
So me and Katie, we'd been saying we wanted to do Route 66 for our honeymoon, but we never got around to it because of COVID and stuff. So we was like, right, we'll stay and go to Vegas from LA. So we drove to Vegas.
This is after, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so
we all like
they all went
flew
home. I stayed for like a week in America. So made our way to Vegas, drove there, drove to the Grand Canyon, then made our way back to fly home from LA. So we had like 3 nights to spare. And on your last day, you'd been for a drink at the Chateau Marmont, which is like a renowned hotel in LA. So me and Kate were like driving back to LA. Like, okay, let's have a look at it. We managed to like find this like last minute room thing, booked it, and then we was listening to like all the podcasts going there like about it, and so much stuff's happened there. You'd have to like check it out yourself. But even like Father John Misty's Chateau lobby song is about the lobby there, and it feels like when you're there, it's hard to explain. But it just
it's like do you know that them like stories and them like visions of LA, like especially back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Like that was there. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the places where like loads of the band stayed. Do you know what I mean? Like loads of photographs were. So it's like,
and everyone looks like someone who's in there. So it's great for people watching. It's a bit like what's going on in here. We just stayed in the lobby with our bags, like waiting to like go to the airport basically. Katie had fallen asleep and I was just like sat in the corner of the room, and obviously there's so many people just coming in and out. Then this bloke walks in with this other guy and I was like, he's got to be someone. Do you know what I mean? So then I was like eavesdropping and people watching at this point. And he had like this big book with him that said Reagan on it. And it had like, he was obviously talking, I could hear him talking about like book deals and stuff. And I was like, what is it? So then I managed to find the guy on Google while I was sat there.
Love that.
So he turns out he's this like, he started this magazine called Reagan in the 90s, which is like this like fashion music magazine thing. And he'd had like Bowie on the cover. Everyone's been on there sort of thing. I think he did Nylon magazine, and then he's done this new one, which he was obviously talking about with this like thing. So basically, I'm sat there and I was like, should I just go over and be like, I'm in a band. Let's go. Let's connect. Yeah. So I was like, should I or shouldn't I? And then I was debating it, listening to his conversation, reading about him. And basically, I just didn't, because I was like, one, I didn't think my outfit was good enough. And secondly, I was like, I just basically bottled it.
It's not you.
It's not very me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But part of me was like, I should do it. Like, what if some, you know what I mean? I didn't know. So then I was like putting this into my phone in real time, like as I was having this like conversation with myself, thinking, I could probably turn this into a tune. So then I literally just put it in, like all the stuff, like if I was to bet, I
would say you were someone.
If I was to bet, I would say you were someone. And I think he was fairly well known, and I think he said his name was Marvin, and he's got a book called Reagan and all this stuff. Maybe he can make me a big star. But then I just don't, because I'm too shy, basically. So then that's what the song became. But it was literally on the nose for what
I should walk over. I wish I wore a better outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like from the notes app to the actual tune.
Yeah,
That's
which
great.
was kind of like, because I'd experienced it in real time. When you get something like that into a song, it kind of it gives the song a bit more weight, because you're not just like pulling these random influences that you've got from maybe a book or somewhere else. It was kind of an experience I'd had, and kind of come up with this idea and managed to channel it into, and then the music that I then wrote at home to it fitted just so well, and it kind of had a bit of attitude and stuff, and it just, again, when we did it together, it felt
it came together like that, didn't it? It was just, I love that song. I love the sound sonically. It's my favourite. I think that's why I love it so much. It just sounds cool. It sounds in my head.
It sounds like that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That sort of swag to it as well,
exactly,
I suppose. What are you guys like at those kind of like fancy places or showbiz parties? Are you in?
Maybe not quite in between us, but like,
I think more parties were like that. Like when we go to, like, say we get invited to like a nice event or something, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll go down, we'll try and mingle. It always just ends up in us stood in a corner as us five together in a circle.
We just go to,
do you know what I mean?
Like gravitate to each other. So not in between, not as tragic as the in-betweeners, but
one step removed.
One step away, yeah.
In-betweeners in a pair of flares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Another bonus favourite, just while we're here.
Oh yeah.
Perfect Me.
Perfect Me. Great tune.
Proper earworm.
Nearly didn't make it. Very close to not.
Really?
Yeah.
That was written like well early with To-Do List, wasn't it? Well, not written, recorded.
Yeah.
And you're like, you didn't fucking write it, Joe.
But no, we did write that one together, to be fair.
Yeah, but
it felt more like Very Blossoms, which when you're like trying to do like new stuff, you kind of push that away a bit.
I actually was getting a like Bruce Springsteen kind of energy, like American road trip. I want to like get a convertible, put the roof down.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Which is what it ended up sounding like with Fresh Ears. So we basically did a full circle on it. So when we recorded it, we then went away and did like, so we had that song sat there, but then we did like the stuff with CMAT and like I Like Your Look and Nightclub and Big Star, and then it was a bit like, oh, we like this vibe. Do you know what I mean? And we kind of shunned it a little bit and was like, oh, it's just
people
too
say,
obvious
people
in a way, but it's not. Like,
no.
Then we got it mixed and like heard it back and was like, oh, this is really
and it's
good.
so hooky. It's one of those songs you can sing it by the end of it, can't you?
Yeah.
Love that. you guys have got top 5 albums, if you include your live one, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
You know, some super special shows, an amazing fan base. Like, Blossoms means so much to so many people, but I wondered what the highlights were for you two.
You're trying to pick like a really...
So that's floored you, hasn't it?
I think it's just
a big question.
I think it's that thing
like...
of it's like yet to come. That thing I said before. I don't know. I feel like we're still going.
No,
Do
the
you know what I mean?
moments. My favourite moments are like when you're in the room and you first jam, like a song I've written, then the lads jump on it and then it like comes to life. Like,
and you go, oh my God, this is the one.
They're the best moments for me.
It does feel
because you got that
amazing,
excitement. Or when I've just wrote a song and I know it's going to be something, like they're the moments that you can't really recreate. Like gigs, you do get another go at it, don't you? Because you're like, okay, Hull was shit. Funnily enough, Hull was one of my favourite gigs.
So,
do you know what I mean?
Everyone from Hull in the comments like, right.
No, Hull's one. But you know what I mean? You might have a shit gig on a Tuesday and then the next night you put it right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but you don't get that with like songs, do you? You just have to live with it. So when you've done that moment,
like there's the live spark, you can sort of recreate again and again and again. Do you know what I mean? Like big gig, you play like a massive tune, everyone goes mad, and it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like you get but the spark of like when we first did Gary, for example, it's completely different, and it's like so unique because it's so harder to come by. Do you know what I mean?
gig wise, Manchester Arena was good. So we'd had all this time to kind of like get ourselves better at being live, and we'd had that new album. So
we felt amazing as well on stage, like as in like a band. We felt like so confident in our set.
Felt deserving of being on the stage. We had the songs to back it up. So
yeah.
that gig was like special because it was like a big gig and it didn't like have any sort of negative around it.
Yeah,
if you know
sure.
what I mean.
Doing that was like incredible.
Yeah, there's so even just like some of the random ones like abroad that you don't put any onus on. They're sometimes the ones that surprise you.
Yeah.
And it's just us five.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the ones in the UK, everyone different people's family and relationships and stuff all come to different ones. So the odds are in the UK, someone else will be there of some form. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's just like someone's cousin who's come or someone's auntie's mate who's come. Whereas like when you're in like, I don't know, I'm trying to pick somewhere.
Poland.
Yeah, or like Poland or Tokyo or something.
Yeah,
like,
you don't necessarily know anyone.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to expect, and it's just us five, and you end up just having some of the best times.
I just think, it's coming up to like nearly our 10 years. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh God, that thing that we always said, because throughout the whole of our career, we've always said, and you probably listened to our first, we've always said want longevity. Like longevity is key to us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's always been the long-term goals for like us to sustain this as like something we want to do forever. So it's like, now you get into them big, like it's a decade, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like
a decade. So you've achieved what you set out to do, which is longevity. How do you think you have done that?
Personally, it's us five as mates.
Yeah, I do.
Proper friendship being at the core of it.
Staying as friends and being just completely honest with each other all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I probably do their heads in so much. Do you know what I mean? And vice versa.
But it's all love now,
yeah,
isn't it?
I think just being dead honest with each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you've got to. I think sometimes if you're scared to just have them awkward moments and
There's a few things, isn't there, that why it keeps you...
I just think we all just the other thing is we all just get on really well.
No one's got too big for the
boots. Like if I was the front man, it'd be bad. Do you know what I mean?
And on a boring level, I split the songwriting as well.
Yeah,
If
100%.
and I do think that is part of it.
Massive.
Because there's no like resentment or like imbalance within the group. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
even
like a
though
team thing.
Yeah, even though I write the songs, it's like
Yeah.
I always want to split that side of it because it wouldn't feel right. You know what I'm saying?
Because that thing came in early days, didn't it? With like,
I looked at the bands who stayed together.
Because it is instantly a dynamic thing, like you say.
Yeah. U2, Coldplay, Arctic Monkeys. From what I know anyway, and from what I've read, it was like they split it. They're the ones who are still together.
Yeah, best mates, grounded, longevity, all these highs that we've spoken about. But for balance, let's talk about maybe some of the lows that you've been through. In music, what have you guys particularly struggled with? Imposter syndrome's a thing that people talk about.
Oh, massive.
Is that
huge.
something you've
I
experienced?
would.
I think all of us have really.
Yeah.
When I first went into a studio and I couldn't even play to a click track. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm a drummer in a band. Do you know what I mean? I still have that now though. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like.
I sometimes wonder, does that ever change? Because the more people you speak to, it feels like a lot of people have it.
Joe, it'd be fair for me to say that you're like the least musical.
Oh
technically.
Technically, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Joe doesn't play any of the other instruments, where the rest of us can play like.
Wonderwall.
You can play, yeah.
Smash Wonderwall on the guitar. Do you know what I mean?
But on the whole, like, Joe wouldn't jump on another instrument. Do you know what I mean? Where the rest of us can kind of jump on a bit of keyboards and a bit of guitar, basically.
Yeah.
And you were probably a few years behind everyone in terms of playing your instruments. So Joe hadn't been playing the drums as long.
No.
So when we went into these studios, you were a bit behind and probably
massively,
couldn't keep up as much, which then you caught up very fast after that. But I suppose that probably made you feel a bit insecure and a bit like out of your depth.
Yeah, well,
Do you know
I
what
think it's just like there's like a level of embarrassment in the studio. Do you know what I mean? If you're there and everyone's like, oh, that sounds amazing, and you're just a bit like, oh, you couldn't do what you were meant to do. That was hard, but I'm not that sort of person. Do you know what I mean? I didn't just sit there and
just cracked on.
Yeah, I just I got in touch with.
Well, you always said if you weren't in this band, you wouldn't be in another band.
No, I don't see myself as a drummer. I see myself as like in a band. Do you know what I mean? Like I love playing drums, and I proper love playing drums, and I'm all. Do you know what I mean? Like I love it, and I'm a good drummer. I know I am, but it's like I'm also. I just want to be in this band.
What would you say your lows have been?
I've struggled a bit with like the imposter syndrome thing, and it's not like a natural thing to do like what we do, I suppose. And as the songwriter, I feel the pressure way more than the rest of them do. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's kind of like you feel like you're on your own a bit. Just been like where you just like really, really gets you down because you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get myself out of this, if you know what I mean. And I'm a bit of a pet, like...
Yeah, 100%.
My thought process is very, like, negative, do you know what I mean?
Really?
Well, I could go to the negative faster. I'm trying to get better at it.
Do you think that's because you're a perfectionist? Naturally, if something's not quite right, you just go down.
There's an element of that, which is like, there's an element which is healthy, which makes you good.
Yeah.
But then it's when it spins too far down that rabbit hole, it's just not healthy and it's not productive or anything like that. So it's kind of... And even, like, playing live as well, like, being the front man, like, that was... I don't think it was, like... Well, I talked about it before, didn't I, a little bit. That element was, like, difficult. The minute you're self-conscious within it, it's just shit. So you're like, oh, God, I need to not be self-conscious. And it's that thing of constantly being inspired and finding things to always be on the front foot.
Yeah.
You don't really sit in the moment and enjoy it. Like, you're constantly like, what's the next song going to be? Where are we going to be? If the gigs don't get better, what if like we start falling down festival bills? Like I've got to write the songs. Like that's going through my head like 24/7. Mostly,
100%.
I've got better at it now.
The negatives have always been really personal ones. Do you know what I mean? With each other, we always speak about it in terms of each other. Like we'll sit in our rehearsal room, and if anyone's got anything like that, we all open up to each other. Like it's like brothers, really. Do you know what I mean? Like we're closer than mates. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like
that's also so nice to hear as well. As a group of lads, you actually can open up and have those chats.
It's proper weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know that, especially like I've got other mates who they just would not do that. Do you know what I mean? Like that group of friends. Like whereas we're like the opposite in.
Yeah. With them at Uber highs, you're always going to have. There's going to be another side to it. I think when you care about it as well, but you've got to learn to like care a little bit less. I think in terms of piling on the pressure.
Look into your future era. Like, where would you like to be 10 years' time? Are we talking greatest hits album, world domination, topping festivals? Like, how do you see it?
All of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
Yes, please.
Do you know what? There's no ceiling. I've said it before. That's what I feel. I just feel like there's nothing there that's like, oh yeah.
I don't like looking that far ahead either. So I'm kind of like, let's get through this week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
See how that's making me like see what's making me tick that week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you go too far ahead.
It's like crisis.
Yeah,
mode,
if it didn't happen, then you'd be disappointed. It's good to have like little goals, I suppose, but I'm kind of like just looking for the next bit of inspiration. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So we'll see what that is when it comes around the corner.
But long live Blossoms. Tom, Joe, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Blossoms, everybody!
Nice one. Thank you.
What lovely, genuine lads. How nice to see they're not only bandmates, but best mates at heart as well. They can chat, those two, as well as they can cook up indie tunes. I hope you enjoyed the pod. If you did, please do drop us a cheeky 5-star review. We would love you forever. This has been a Good Karma production at Metropolis Studios. I'll see you for the next episode.